few days ago, I put a video out about the idea of heating this small cattle panel high tunnel with compost. Got a lot of neat feedback from folks and started chipping away at it a little bit on a tangent from what I had described in the video. I worked on the outside, in fact, as a first step. And so I'd like to get into what we're doing there and get some more feedback from folks, so stick around. I'll link here to that first video so you can get caught up if you missed that. But the basic idea, very, very rough overview, is this 16-foot long high tunnel, cattle panel high tunnel. I need to make a handle is what I need to do, is to heat the space using a compost system on the far end. And I will be doing that, but this is basically where it was that other day. But I went ahead and did something that was a little bit more straightforward and needed a little less design and detail, which is to create a compost heating system on the outside. So it takes up no square footage on the inside. And as my friend Robbie helped me out and we got this set up, it took about an hour. Real straightforward, and it seems like it's heating it already. You can see the tracks that we made here. So right now I'm on the north side of this high tunnel. This runs east to west. So the door is on the east side. This is the north side. And on the west side, which pairs directly to the side of the high tunnel on the inside where I want to do the hotbed and the compost heating system, we laid up this very simple pile of very active compost from our chicken coop. The chicken coop needed to be cleaned out anyway. We have a deep bedding system in there, and it was just starting to smell a little like ammonia, which means it's getting less and less healthy for our hens. We can keep adding hay, but the better thing to do is clear it out and start from scratch with clean hay. So we're stacking functions here and obtaining a yield. We cleaned out all that deep bed pack and built it up on this west side. And a neat little trick that I included is a pipe to exchange cold air from the inside with hot air through the pile. Let me look at it again from the inside. I took an offcut from a metal pipe that I found at a dump and cut it to a length so that it would sit in such a way as, so this is on the outside of the poly with little slits here, which what I'll do at some point is pack these with wool and maybe tape over them. But right now they're not loose, or there's not air from the outside sneaking through because there's enough hay around it. But it's a very simple slit. I can tape that up later and set on locust blocks. You can see the inlet. So this is a metal tube about 4 inches diameter that's buried within that hot compost that gets its intake air from this space, from the space we wish to heat. And as the tube gets heated by the compost around it, it would make hotter and hotter air and then send that hot air back out into the same space. So we have a thermosiphon, passive thermosiphon set up to do some air circulation from this space. And my thought is that when we get the other hotbed established in here, to be determined as far as exact proportions and all that, I can run perforated pipe under it so it can bring oxygen into this pile that will be here, and then have that same air then zip up through the heated tube and back into the space. I'd make a little cap over it so it doesn't leave out that window, but rather comes through. So it's a way to cycle hot air passively whenever that compost is actively driving that. Part of this idea as well is just on the south end of this pile. It just looks like snow right now, but under here is a metal raised bed, and under this snow are glass windows. So we've got a raised bed that has a little cold frame over it. And what I'm thinking is that the heat from this pile will be going into the high tunnel, but can also be radiating into this bed and giving this a little boost. And I just ordered some Mylar sheets online, and my thought is we'll let this settle for a day or two, get the final shape where it needs to be, and then put some dry hay on top of it to insulate, and then use some ground pins to put Mylar sheeting right on top to keep the real cold air reflected off and to have the heat reflect back into itself. So the path of least resistance will be to bleed that heat into the high tunnel. Whole bunch of you suggested, hey, why not put a big compost pile on the outside too? And so thanks for that suggestion. I was leaning in that direction anyway, and so we'll see how this works. Now, Robbie and I put this pile together about 2 hours ago, and since then there's now steam on the inside of this poly, which was not there before. Could be coincidental, could be something else happening, but there's no sun out today. It's a pretty cold, misty day. And the thermometer in here when we first started read about 34, 35. So it's gone up a few points already. I'm going to track this as time goes on and see what happens. I don't have any formal tracking system in here, but we're going to be coming into some really cold nights in a few days. And I like the idea of setting this up in advance of that just to see how it performs. And then we'll get some more detailed work happening in here. It could be much rougher on the outside because it doesn't take up precious real estate. In here, I want to be a little bit more deliberate and clean in the design. Maybe think through whether or not this well is coming out. I think I'd like to leave it, but I'm not quite sure. But we'll do an update on that soon. But for now, we've got chicken bedding flanking the western wall with a thermosiphoning tube to redirect and circulate hot air through the space. We'll see how it goes. Give me some feedback. What's wrong with this? What's right with it, maybe, but what's wrong would be more helpful. Thanks for watching, and thanks so much for your interest in this experimenting that we're doing.